Han Tae-woo woke up in a cell made of light. The walls were not solid. They were beams of soft blue energy that hummed quietly in the darkness. He tried to touch them, but his hand passed through and felt nothing but warmth. Still, when he tried to walk through, the light pushed him back gently but firmly. He remembered the crash. His research ship had fallen from the sky above Velarinine, a planet at the edge of known space. He remembered fire. He remembered screaming. He remembered Dr. Park Yuna grabbing his arm as they ran from the wreckage. After that, everything went black. Now he was here. Wherever here was, the door opened. It was not really a door. A section of the light simply faded away, and two tall figures stepped inside. Tae-woo had studied alien species for 7 years. He had seen pictures of the Elithrians in old databases, but pictures did not prepare him for seeing them in person. They were over 2 meters tall. Their skin was silver blue, smooth like polished stone. Their eyes had no whites, only deep purple that seemed to glow from within. They wore robes of black silk that moved like water. They looked at him the way a person might look at a strange insect they found in their garden. "The human is awake," one of them said. The words appeared in his mind before they reached his ears. Some kind of translation technology, he guessed. "Where is my colleague?" Tae-woo asked. His voice was rough. His throat was dry. "Dr. Park Yuna, she was with me." "The female is safe," the second Elithrian said. "She is in a different holding area. You will see her soon. But first, you will meet the queen." Tae-woo had no choice. They did not hurt him. They did not even touch him. But when they walked, he understood that he was supposed to follow. So he did. The palace was enormous. The hallways stretched so far that he could not see where they ended. Everything was made of crystal and light. There were no torches, no lamps. The walls themselves glowed with soft colors that changed as he walked past. It was beautiful. It was also terrifying. Finally, they reached a great hall. The ceiling was so high that clouds floated near the top, real clouds somehow trapped inside the building. And at the far end of the hall, on a throne made of frozen starlight, sat the queen. Queen Valus was different from the guards. She was tall like them, silver blue like them, but there was something else. Power. It radiated from her like heat from a fire. Tae-woo felt it pressing against his mind, testing him, measuring him. She looked young, but he knew that meant nothing. Elithrians lived for thousands of years. She could be older than human civilization itself. "Han Tae-woo," she said. Her voice was soft, but filled the entire hall. "Xenobiologist. 29 Earth years old. Born in a city called Seoul? You study alien life forms. How do you know that?" He asked. "Your ship's computer was very informative," she said. There was no smile on her face. Elithrians did not smile. But something in her eyes looked almost amused. "You are the first human I have ever seen in person. Your species is quite rare in this part of the galaxy." "We don't travel this far usually," Tae-woo said. "Our ship was damaged. We had no choice, yes. An unfortunate accident." The queen stood up from her throne. She was even taller than he had thought. She walked down the steps slowly, each movement graceful and precise. But perhaps fortunate for me, Tae-woo felt his heart beat faster. He did not like the way she said that. "I require something from you, Han Tae-woo," she continued. "I am about to undergo the Ascension. It is a ceremony that will make me High Empress of all 12 Elithrian star systems. But the ceremony requires a partner. A male from a non-Elithrian species must bond with me temporarily to stabilize my psionic abilities during the ritual." "A partner," Tae-woo repeated. "It's a ceremonial consort. The bond will last for 1 Elithrian cycle. Approximately 90 of your Earth days. During this time, you will stay in the palace. You will participate in certain rituals. You will allow our minds to connect." She stopped in front of him, looking down with those purple eyes. "In exchange, when the cycle ends, I will give you a ship, enough credits to live comfortably for many years, and safe passage back to human space. And if I refuse," the queen tilted her head slightly, "then you and your colleague will remain here as prisoners indefinitely." The Elithrian Empire does not recognize human diplomatic rights. You have no protection under our laws. You are, in essence, property that I may do with as I wish. Taewoo felt cold anger rise in his chest. But he was not stupid. He was one human on an alien world, surrounded by beings who could crush him with a thought. Fighting would accomplish nothing. If I agree, he said slowly, Dr. Park goes free immediately. Not when the cycle ends. Now, the Queen considered this. That is acceptable. As a sign of good faith, and I want everything in writing, a contract. Something I can hold you to. You do not trust my word? I just met you, Taewoo said. And you just told me I'm property. No, I don't trust your word. For a long moment, the Queen simply stared at him. Then something changed in her expression. Not a smile, but something close to respect. You are braver than I expected, she said. Most beings tremble before me. You negotiate. I'm human, Taewoo said. We're too stupid to know when we should be scared. This time, there was definitely amusement in her eyes. Very well, Han Taewoo. You will have your contract. And your colleague will be released within the hour. She will be given supplies and directions to the nearest human outpost. Ow. The contract was brought. It was written in both Elithrian symbols and English. Taewoo read every word carefully. 90 days. Ceremonial duties. Mental bonding during rituals. Freedom and compensation at the end. He signed it. Dr. Park Yuna was brought to him before she left. She was unhurt, just scared. She hugged him tight and whispered in his ear. I'll tell the coalition where you are, she said. I'll bring help. Just survive until then. I will, he promised. Now go. Don't look back. He watched her leave. The doors closed behind her, and Han Taewoo was alone with the aliens. That night, the bonding ceremony began. He knelt in a circle of light while Queen Valis placed her hands on his temples. He expected pain. Instead, he felt warmth spreading through his mind, gentle and curious. She was looking inside him, seeing his memories, his fears, his hopes, and for just a moment, he felt her too. Behind all that power, behind that cold royal mask, there was loneliness. Deep and old and vast as space itself. Then the connection faded, and she stepped back. Interesting, she said quietly. You are not what I expected, human. Taewoo looked up at her. Neither are you. The Queen turned away, but not before he saw something flicker across her face. Something that looked almost like surprise. 80-9 days remained. 3 weeks passed. Taewoo learned the rhythm of the palace. He woke when the artificial sun rose inside the crystal dome. He ate strange foods that tasted like nothing he had ever known. He walked through gardens where the flowers sang soft melodies when touched, and every evening. He knelt in the ritual chamber while Queen Valis connected their minds. The bonding sessions were supposed to be simple. Her mind would touch his, draw stability from his presence, and then withdraw. That was what the ancient texts said. That was what had happened with every ceremonial consort before him. But something was different with Tae-Woo. On the 21st day, the royal scientists came to the ritual chamber. There were 5 of them, all wearing white robes, covered in glowing symbols. They carried devices that looked like floating crystals. They surrounded Taewoo and Valis during the bonding and measured things he could not understand. When the session ended, the scientists looked at each other with expressions that Taewoo had learned to recognize as shock. This is impossible, one of them said. The resonance levels are beyond anything in our records. Humans are sinal, another scientist argued. They have no psychic ability. Our studies confirmed this centuries ago. And yet the data does not lie. The head scientist, an ancient Elithrian with silver hair that reached the floor, turned to the Queen. Your Majesty, the bond with this human is stronger than any we have ever measured. His mind amplifies your power by a factor of 12. 12. The previous record was 3. Valis said nothing. But Taewoo felt her surprise through the fading connection between them. She had not expected this either. How is this possible? She finally asked, We do not know, Your Majesty. Human brains are chaotic. They experience emotions with incredible intensity. Their neural connections change rapidly throughout their lives. Perhaps this chaos creates a kind of resonance that our more ordered minds cannot achieve. The scientist paused. In simple terms, his mind is like a storm, and your power rides that storm like wind rides waves. After the scientist left, Vela sat in silence for a long time. Tae-woo sat across from her, waiting. He had learned that she did not like to be interrupted when she was thinking. "You have made me stronger than any queen before me," she finally said. "The council will never let you leave now. The contract says 90 days, Tae-woo replied. The contract says many things. There are older laws. Laws that protect bonds of exceptional strength. She looked at him with those purple eyes. "I did not plan this, human. I want you to know that." Tae-woo believed her. Over the past 3 weeks, he had seen glimpses of her through their connection. She was proud, yes. She was powerful, yes. But she was not cruel. And she was very, very tired. "What happens now?" he asked. "Now we continue. And we see what the next 69 days bring." But things changed after that night. The sessions became longer. The connections grew deeper. Tae-woo began to see things he was not supposed to see. Memories that were not his own. He saw Velas as a child, standing alone in a garden, while other children played without her. He saw her as a young woman, watching her mother die and accepting the crown before she was ready. He saw centuries of ruling, of making decisions that affected billions, never being allowed to show weakness or doubt. He saw loneliness so deep it had no bottom, and she saw him too. She saw his childhood in Seoul, playing in the rain with his sister. She saw him studying late at night, dreaming of stars. She saw his first heartbreak, his first success, his fears and hopes, and all the small moments that made him who he was. They did not talk about what they saw, but they both knew. One evening, Tae-woo found her in the Crystal Garden. It was his favorite place in the palace. The flowers here did not just sing. They glowed with soft colors that changed based on the emotions of whoever was near. Velas was sitting on a bench, staring at nothing. The flowers around her were gray. Tae-woo had never seen them gray before. "Are you all right?" he asked. She did not answer immediately. Then slowly she said, "Today, I sentenced a man to death. He was a traitor. He sold secrets to a rival empire. The law is clear about such things. Did he deserve it? Perhaps. Perhaps not. Does it matter? I am the queen. My word is law. When I speak, people die." She finally looked at him. "Do you know how many I have killed over the centuries? Not with my own hands, but with my words." Tae-woo sat down beside her. The flowers around him turned soft blue. "Calm. You didn't choose to be queen," he said. "No, I was born to it. There was never another path. That doesn't make it easier." She agreed. "It does not." They sat in silence for a while. Then Tae-woo reached into his pocket and pulled out a small container. He had found it in the kitchen and paid one of the servants to get it for him. "What is that?" Velas asked. "It's a human thing. We put it on food to make it spicy." He opened the container and offered it to her. "Your scientist said Elithrians can't handle spicy food. But I thought maybe you'd want to try." She stared at him like he had lost his mind. "You want me to eat something that my body cannot tolerate?" "Just a tiny bit. That's what makes it fun. You try something that scares you, and then you survive. And you feel alive." He grinned. "It's a human thing." Velas looked at the sauce for a long moment. Then, slowly, she dipped her finger in and tasted it. Her reaction was immediate. Her eyes went wide. Her silver blue skin flushed purple. She opened her mouth and made a sound that was somewhere between a gasp and a hiss. "That is terrible," she said. "That is the worst thing I have ever tasted." She was laughing. It was a small sound, barely there, but it was definitely laughter. The flowers around them exploded into bright gold. "You're laughing?" Tae-woo said. "I am not." "Queens do not laugh. You're definitely laughing." She looked at him, and for just a moment the mask was gone. There was no queen sitting beside him. just a woman who had been alone for too long. "You are a very strange human," she said, "and you're a very strange alien queen. I guess we're even." After that night, things changed again. They began spending time together outside the rituals. She showed him the places in the palace that only she knew about. A hidden waterfall that fell upward. A room where you could see every star in the galaxy at once. A garden where the plants whispered stories of ancient times. He taught her about human things. Humor and sarcasm. Music and poetry. The way humans laughed at themselves and found joy in small things. She did not understand all of it. But she tried, and trying was enough. The days passed quickly now. Too quickly. Taewoo found himself counting them with a strange feeling in his chest. 16/9 became 50. 50 became 30. He told himself he was just waiting for freedom. He told himself he was just surviving until he could go home. But late at night, when the palace was quiet and he was alone with his thoughts, he wondered if that was still true. Day 89 came faster than Taewoo expected. He woke up that morning and looked at the ceiling of his room, counting the hours until freedom. Tomorrow, the contract would be complete. Tomorrow, he would get his ship and his credits and fly back to human space. Tomorrow, he would leave this crystal palace and never see it again. He should have been happy. He was not. Taewoo pushed that thought away. He got dressed and went to the Great Hall, where the final ceremony would take place. The council would be there. Officials from all 12 star systems. They would witness the completion of the bond and his formal release. The hall was full when he arrived. Hundreds of Elythrians stood in perfect rows, their silver-blue faces blank and unreadable. At the front, Queen Velis sat on her throne. She wore a crown of frozen light that made her look more distant than ever. Taewoo walked down the long aisle toward her. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He could feel every eye on him. The small human, the temporary consort, the soon-to-be-free prisoner. He stopped at the bottom of the steps and bowed. He had learned their customs over the past months. He knew what was expected. "Han Taewoo," the head counselor announced. His voice filled the hall. "You have served as ceremonial consort to Queen Velis for 1 Elythrian cycle. The bond is now complete. Do you request your formal release as stated in the contract?" "I do," Taewoo said. The counselor turned to Velis. "Your Majesty, do you grant this release?" "Long and heavy and wrong." "I do not," Velis said. The hall erupted in whispers. Taewoo felt like someone had punched him in the stomach. He stared at her, waiting for an explanation. Waiting for her to say it was a joke, even though Elythrians did not joke about such things. "The bond is incomplete," Velis continued. Her voice was calm and cold. "Royal, according to the third law of resonance, established in the age of founding. A psionic bond that exceeds the threshold of exceptional cannot be dissolved without risking permanent neural damage to both parties. The bond between myself and Han Taewoo exceeds this threshold by a factor of 4. Law has not been used in 800 years, someone in the council said. Has not been needed in 800 years, but it remains valid." Velis looked down at Taewoo. There was something in her eyes he could not read. The human will remain in the palace. He will continue his duties as consort until such time as the bond can be safely dissolved. "And when will that be?" Taewoo asked. His voice was steady, but his hands were shaking. "Unknown. Perhaps years. Perhaps never." The hall fell silent again. The counselors looked at each other, but no one argued. The queen had spoken. Her word was law. Taewoo was escorted back to his quarters. Not his old quarters, new ones. Larger, more luxurious, with windows that looked out over the endless crystal towers of the palace. A beautiful cage. He sat on the bed and stared at the wall. He thought about Dr. Park Yuna, waiting for him somewhere in human space. He thought about his sister back on Earth, who probably thought he was dead. He thought about all the things he would never do, all the places he would never see. He thought about Velis. She came to him that night. She did not knock. She simply appeared at his door, without her crown, without her guards, looking smaller than he had ever seen her. "Thou must hate me," she said. Tae-woo did not answer immediately. He was too angry to speak, too confused. "To hurt? You lied to me," he finally said. "You made me trust you. Was any of it real?" "All of it was real." She stepped into the room. "The bond, Tae-woo. It is real. If I dissolve it now, your mind will be damaged. You may never think clearly again. You may forget who you are. I cannot do that to you. So instead, you trap me here forever. I trap us both." Her voice cracked slightly. The mask was slipping. "Do you think I wanted this? Do you think I planned to feel this way about a human? About anyone?" Tae-woo stood up. He walked toward her until they were face to face. Well, face to chest. She was still much taller than him. "What way?" he demanded. "What do you feel?" She did not answer, but he felt it anyway. The bond was still there, humming quietly between them. And through it, he felt everything she was trying to hide. Fear, desperation, and something else. Something that felt like falling. "I have been queen for 400 years, she said softly. "In all that time, no one has ever seen me. Not really. They see the crown. They see the power. They bow and obey in fear. But you," she touched his face. Her fingers were cool and smooth. "You looked at me like I was just a person. You made me laugh. You showed me hot sauce." "That's not enough," Tae-woo said. "You can't keep someone just because you're lonely." "I know." There were tears in her eyes now. Illithrian tears were silver, like liquid metal. "I know it is wrong. I know I am selfish. But I cannot let you go. Not yet, please. Just give me more time. Let me find another way." Tae-woo wanted to stay angry. He wanted to hate her. It would be so much easier if he could just hate her. But he had seen inside her mind. He knew her better than anyone in the galaxy. And he knew that she was not lying. She was just scared. Scared of being alone again. Scared of losing the only real connection she had ever had. "I won't forgive you," he said. "Not for this. I am not asking for forgiveness." "Then what are you asking for?" She was quiet for a long moment. Then, very softly, she said, "Time. That is all." Just time. Tae-woo pulled away from her. He walked to the window and looked out at the alien sky. Somewhere out there, billions of light years away, was Earth. His home. His people. "I want to send messages," he said. "To Dr. Park? To my family? Real messages, not monitored ones. That is dangerous. If the Coalition learns what has happened, then they learn. That's my price. If you want me to stay without fighting you every day, you have to give me that." Valus considered this. Then she nodded. "Very well. You may send messages. But Tae-woo, what happens next is not only up to me. The Council will not let you leave either. You have made me too powerful. They see you as an asset now. Then we figure it out together," Tae-woo said. He did not look at her. "But if you ever lie to me again, I will find a way to destroy that bond myself. Even if it kills us both." She did not argue. She simply bowed her head and left. Tae-woo stood at the window until the artificial sun set. His anger was still there. His hurt was still there. But underneath it all, there was something else. Hope, maybe. Or maybe something more dangerous. He thought about what she had said. About the bond. About choice. And he began to form a plan. Tae-woo learned that he was not the only human in the Illithrian Empire. There were others. Hundreds of them scattered across the 12 star systems. Most had been captured from lost ships like his own. Some had been bought from traders. All of them were considered property under Illithrian law. He met Kong Su-ben first. She was an engineer, taken from a mining vessel 6 years ago. Now she worked in the lower levels of the palace, fixing machines that the Illithrians considered beneath their attention. She was small and quiet, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. "The Queen's new pet," she said when she saw Tae-woo. Her voice was flat. Not hostile, just tired. "I heard about you. The human who made her stronger?" I didn't choose that, Taewoo said. None of us choose anything here. She looked at him carefully. But you're different. You have access to the royal quarters. You talk to the queen herself. That's more than any human has ever had. What are you saying? I'm saying that maybe you can do something with that access, if you wanted to. That was how it started. Suben introduced him to others. Choi Minho, a former coalition soldier who had been captured during a border skirmish. He now served as a guard in the outer palace, forced to wear Elithrian armor and follow Elithrian orders. He hated every moment of it, but he had survived. There was also Lee Hanna, a doctor who worked in the medical wing, treating injured servants. And Yoon De-sung, an old man who had been here longer than anyone could remember. Who knew secrets about the palace that even the Elithrians had forgotten? They met in secret. In the forgotten tunnels beneath the crystal towers, they talked about home. They talked about escape. They talked about the way things were and the way things could be. The Elithrians think we're nothing, Minho said one night. Short lives, no psychic powers, weak bodies. They look at us like we look at insects. But they're wrong, Subin added. We adapt. We survive. We've been doing it for 6 years, some of us longer. They put us in cages, and we made those cages our homes. They gave us the worst jobs, and we learned every system in this palace. What's your point? Taewoo asked. My point is that we know things they don't know we know. Weak points. Backdoors. Ways in and out that aren't on any map. Subin leaned forward. If the right moment came, we could cause a lot of problems. Taewoo thought about this. He thought about Velas. About the bond between them. About the council that saw him as a tool to be used. I don't want to start a war, he said. There are billions of Elithrians. Hundreds of humans. We can't win that fight. Then what do you want? Minho asked. I want them to see us. Really see us. Not as property. Not as tools. As people who deserve respect. Taewoo looked around at the small group. The queen, she's not like the others. She's learned to see me. If she could change, maybe others can too. That's a pretty dream, old Daesung said quietly. But dreams don't free slaves. No, but they're a start. Meanwhile, far across the galaxy, Dr. Park Yuna had not been idle. She had reached human space 2 months ago. She had told everyone who would listen about what had happened. About Taewoo. About the Elithrian Empire. About the humans held there against their will. At first, no one cared. The Elithrians were too far away, too powerful, too uninterested in human affairs. Why risk conflict over a few lost explorers? But Yuna was stubborn. She wrote reports. She gave interviews. She stood in front of the Coalition Council and spoke until her voice gave out. They see us as nothing, she said. As short-lived creatures, not worth their attention, and we're proving them right. Every day we ignore this, we prove them right. Finally, someone listened. Admiral Baek Jian, commander of the Coalition's outer fleet, had lost a brother to Elithrian space 10 years ago. She had always wondered what happened to him. Can't go to war, the admiral said. But we can make contact. Official contact? The first diplomatic mission to the Elithrian Empire. They won't care, one of the council members argued. They've ignored us for centuries. Then we make them care. Admiral Baek stood up. We send a ship, a big one, with weapons they can see and a message they can't ignore. We demand the return of our citizens. All of them. And we make it clear that humanity is watching. The vote passed. Barely. But it passed. 3 months after Taewoo's failed release. A coalition warship appeared at the edge of Elithrian space. It was tiny compared to Elithrian vessels. But it carried something more powerful than weapons. It carried proof that humanity would not forget its own. The message reached the palace within hours. Taewoo was in the garden with Velas when the counselors came running. A human ship, one of them gasped. At our border, they're demanding an audience. They're demanding the release of all human prisoners. Velas went very still. She looked at Taewoo. You knew about this? She said. It was not a question. I hoped, he replied. Yuna promised she would tell people. I didn't know if anyone would listen. They listened. And now, everything changes. She turned to the counselors. Bring the human ambassador to the Great Hall. We will speak with them. Your Majesty, we should refuse. Humans are nothing. Their one ship is no threat to us. One ship, yes. But how many more will come if we ignore this one? Velus's voice was sharp. The universe is watching now, counselor. How we respond will define how we are seen for generations. Later, when they were alone, she turned to Tae-woo with something like wonder in her eyes. Your people came for you, she said. One human, lost in an empire of billions, and they sent a ship to bring you home. That's what we do, Tae-woo said. We don't leave our people behind. But you're so few. So short-lived. Why does one life matter so much? Because every life matters. That's the whole point. He took her hand. It was the first time he had touched her willingly since the day she refused to let him go. Velus, I've been thinking. About the bond. About choice. About what makes things real. What have you decided? If you want me to stay, you have to let me go first. You have to give me the choice. That's what makes it mean something. He squeezed her hand. Release me. In front of everyone. Let me decide for myself what happens next. And if you decide to leave, then I leave. And you live with that. And maybe, someday, when things are different, I come back. He looked into her purple eyes. But if you keep me in a cage, you'll never know if what we have is real. And neither will I. Velus was silent for a long time. The flowers around them shifted through 100 colors. You ask for everything, she finally said. I know, but I'm human. We're too stubborn to ask for less. For the first time since the refusal, she smiled. A real smile, small and uncertain and beautiful. Then I suppose I have no choice, she said. The diplomatic ship drew closer, and the Empire held its breath. Admiral Baek Jeon walked into the Great Hall like she owned it. She was not tall. She was not silver-skinned or glowing with psionic power. She was just a human woman in a military uniform, with gray in her hair and steel in her eyes. The Elithrians stared at her, some with curiosity, some with contempt, none with fear. That would change. I am here on behalf of the United Earth Coalition, she announced. Her voice was clear and strong. We are aware that human citizens are being held in this empire against their will. We demand their immediate release. The council members laughed. Actually laughed. The sound was strange coming from Elithrian throats, but the meaning was clear. You demand? One of them said, You come to our empire with one tiny ship, and you make demands. Humans truly are as foolish as we thought. Admiral Baek did not flinch. One ship is all we needed to find you. One ship is all we needed to cross the galaxy. And one ship is all we need to show the universe that the great Elithrian Empire keeps slaves. The laughter stopped. We're not the only ones watching, the Admiral continued. Your rivals in the outer systems are watching. The trading guilds are watching. Every species you have ever conquered or threatened is watching. They want to know what kind of empire you really are. One that honors its agreements? Or one that keeps sentient beings as property? Silence filled the hall. The counselors looked at each other, then at the queen. Velus sat on her throne, her face unreadable. Tae-woo stood to the side, watching everything. He could feel her through the bond. She was thinking, planning, deciding. You speak of one human, the head counselor said. Hun Tae-woo. He is not a prisoner. He is the queen's consort. Their bond cannot be dissolved. Then let him speak for himself, Admiral Baek replied. If he chooses to stay, we will accept that. But the choice must be his. All eyes turned to Tae-woo. He felt the weight of their attention like a physical thing. But before he could speak, Velus stood up. The Admiral is correct, she said. The counselors gasped. Several started to protest, but she raised her hand, and they fell silent. I have held Han Tae-woo against his will. I have used ancient laws to justify my actions. I have told myself it was for his protection, for the good of the Empire, for 1,000 reasons that sounded true in the dark. She descended the steps slowly, but they were all lies. The truth is simpler. I was afraid. Afraid to lose him. Afraid to be alone again. She stopped in front of Tae-woo. The entire hall watched. "I dissolve the bond," she said. The words seemed to cost her something. "I release you from all obligations, all contracts, all claims. You are free, Han Tae-woo. Free to go home. Free to never see me again. Free to choose." Tae-woo felt the bond shift. It did not break. It could never truly break, not with their minds so deeply connected. But the chains around it fell away. For the first time in months, he could walk out of this palace and no law could stop him. Admiral Beak stepped forward. "The ship is waiting. We can have you home in 3 weeks. Home, Earth, his sister, real food, rain and snow and all the things he had dreamed about in his crystal cage." He looked at the Admiral. He looked at the Council. He looked at all the Elithrians who had seen him as nothing, as property, as a tool. Then he looked at Valis. She was not looking at him. She was staring at the floor, her silver blue skin pale, her hands trembling slightly at her sides. She was waiting for him to leave. She had already accepted it. She had let him go, and now she was preparing to be alone again. Tae-woo took a deep breath, and then he walked toward her. "What are you doing?" the Admiral asked. He did not answer. He stopped in front of Valis and reached out his hand. The human gesture of partnership. The one she had once found so strange. "I'm choosing to stay," he said. The hall exploded with noise. Counselors shouting. Officials demanding explanations. Admiral Beak calling his name. But Tae-woo only looked at Valis. At the shock on her face, at the tears forming in her purple eyes. "Why?" she whispered. "'Cause you let me go. Because you gave me the choice. Because now I know it's real," smiled. "And because I'm not done teaching you about hot sauce." She laughed. That small, surprised sound that he loved. The flowers in every garden of the palace burst into golden light. She took his hand. Admiral Beak watched this with an expression that shifted from confusion to understanding. She was a smart woman. She knew what she was seeing. "The human stays by choice," she announced to the hall. "But we will not leave empty-handed. I demand the release of all other human prisoners in this empire. Every single one." The counselors started to argue, but Valis spoke first. "Granted," she said. "All humans held in Elithrian space will be freed. They may stay if they wish, or leave with the coalition. Their choice." "Your Majesty, this is unprecedented," the head counselor protested. "Yes, it is." Valis looked at Tae-woo, then at Admiral Beak, then at the hundreds of Elithrians watching. "For too long, we have judged other species by their power, their lifespan, their psionic abilities. We have looked at humans and seen weakness. Short lives. Chaotic minds. No psychic gifts." She paused. "We were wrong. They are not sinal. They are Sci-Fi. They do not bond through force or law or ancient ritual. They bond through choice. Through loyalty earned, not demanded. Through love, given freely, not taken." She raised her head high. Han Tae-woo could have left today. Every reason told him to leave. I hurt him. I trapped him. I gave him every excuse to hate me. And he stayed anyway, because he wanted to. Because that is what humans do. The hall was silent now. Really silent. Even the counselors had stopped their protests. "I have been queen for 400 years, Valis continued. "I have commanded fleets and crushed rebellions and ruled 12 star systems with an iron will. But I have never been as powerful as I am right now. Standing beside a human who chose me, not because he had to, because he wanted to." She looked at Admiral Beak. "Take your people home, Admiral. Tell them what you saw here today. Tell them that humanity is not weak. Tell them that the Elithrian Empire has learned something new about strength." Admiral Beak nodded slowly. There was respect in her eyes now. Real respect. "I'll tell them," she said. And Admiral Beak keeps her promises. 3 days later, a convoy of ships left Elithrian space. 97 humans who had been prisoners were now free. Kong Su-bin, Choi Min-ho, Lee Han-ah, even old Yoon Dae-sung, who had not seen Earth in 40 years. Tae-woo watched them go from the palace garden. Velis stood beside him, her hand in his. "Do you regret staying?" she asked. "Sometimes," he admitted, "but then I look at you. And I remember why I'm here." She leaned against him. The flowers around them sang soft melodies. Far away in the other queens' palaces, whispers spread like fire. The queen of the third spiral had a human consort. A human who chose to stay. A human who had changed everything. How did she tame him? One queen asked her advisor. The advisor shook her head. She didn't tame him. He chose her. That's the terrifying part. And across the galaxy, humanity's reputation changed. They were no longer the short-lived creatures without psychic power. They were the species who crossed the stars for one man. The species who chose their bonds instead of being bound by them. The species that even the great Elithrian Empire had learned to respect. Tae-woo smiled as the last ship disappeared into the distance. "Are you thinking?" Velis asked. "I'm thinking about what comes next," he said. "About all the things we can build together. About showing the universe what happens when an alien queen and a stubborn human decide to change things." She squeezed his hand. "Then let's begin," she said. And they did.